Hello, ladies and gentlefolk. Welcome back to episode 5 of my Knitting Diaries podcast series. I'm davedekamp, the host of this channel. I'm also knitwear designer, indeed textile historian, and all things fibre art related. If you are a regular subscribed viewer, welcome back to episode 5, and if this is your first time watching, welcome, and I hope that you are a keen lover of all things fibre related, because this channel is focused on all aspects of different fibre arts, which I absolutely am so very passionate about, and I love coming on here and sharing them with you. So if you are interested in this type of content, and learning more about different fibre crafts, knitting included, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell button in order to help me and to support me and, above all, encourage me to keep producing these videos. So, like I said, welcome to episode 5. Now, last Sunday I published episode 4, and I promised that for this episode I shall have my cardigan / coat all finished up so that I can show it to you. However, that did not happen. So let me explain why. So last time I showed you that I started working the sleeves and I was doing them 2 at a time. And practically all I had left to do is do the sleeves and then sew them up, and they would be finished. And then attach the pockets and make a little tutorial. And yes, that was the plan. But I have failed miserably with those sleeves. So sometimes I sort of skip over the very important part of designing, and that's doing a very exact calculation on what is going to fit and what I should do. So that's what I sort of did with my sleeves. So I did a rough estimate of the size for the sleeves, and instead of checking at least halfway there, I went on and I knitted both of the sleeves, the whole sleeve, and well, it didn't work. Ended up too small, as I usually tend to do with sleeves. So this is the failed sleeve. Please take a moment of silence to appreciate this sad, sad loss. I don't know what to tell you all. Ignore the very contrasting seaming here, but I just stitched it up with a whip stitch so that I can check. Now this is a fine sleeve, all right. There's nothing really wrong with it, except that I did not calculate exactly. I did not add in the positive ease that a sleeve should have, so it ended up a little bit too tight for my arm. It fits me, but it doesn't have a lot of positive ease. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So, you see, it ends up being a very tight fitted sleeve, and that takes out from the overall design of the cardigan, and I really cannot put this onto the cardigans, and it's so loosely fitted and all, so I can't really pull this sleeve off. So that was a waste, but you can see how tight it is. I do have a very chunky jumper on, but still, it's tight. Looks like a very nice glove though. I could turn it into a glove or something. Anyway, so that's why the cardigan is not finished. So I'm hoping that I can go and finish it for the next episode. I definitely can, because what I did is I seamed up the cardigan, I've finished the hood, I blocked the hood, and I started the sleeve, and I'm going to knit it top down, so I picked up the stitches around the armhole, and I'm going to knit it top down to the cuff. So I'll do one at a time. Let me show you. If I can get myself untangled here. So, oops. This yarn always gets in the way whenever you're trying to show something. Hold on. It's very large, that's why. So, this is the sleeve in progress. As you can see, it looks so much better. And I'm doing it on the magic loop. I'm below the elbow now, so there's not much more left to go on there. So I'm doing some shaping on the inner part of the arm. And I'll just continue knitting that until I reach the cuff, and I'll do a little bit of ribbing there. And then go on to the other side and pick up and knit the second sleeve. And upon finishing that, it shall be complete. All I have to do is put on the pockets, and that's finished. Really, really looking forward to that. I'm going to show you what it looks like thus far. So you probably can't really see. So I have the hood there. It's all knitted. There's the hood, and as you can see, so there's the one armhole there, and then there's the second one. Actually, why don't I put it on so that you can see a little better? Oh, my hair got in the way there. And you know, I did not realize how large that's why I'm changing into sort of cardigan / coat. I did not realize how large it is and how much knitting it actually went into it until I had it all seamed together and I saw the amount of fabric there is. I mean, it's practically a blanket. I mean, look. Let me put it on. I'm getting tangled again. I'm sorry, you have to bear with me. Right. So there's the hood that's going to go in the back, and it gets, because of the hood, it sort of gets that pull like a nice shawl collar there. And there's the sleeve, you can see. So I'm up to there. I have to continue knitting, and let me put the hood on so that you can see. So this is the hood. I think it looks rather nice, and it's very warm. So the hood is continued, right? So just the stitches from here, they're picked up and they're knitted up there, and I've added a little seed stitch there to sort of frame it in a way. I don't know why I did that, but I like it anyway. So that's the cardi. It's very long. I'm not going to stand up now because I look ridiculous, but you know, it's very cozy, it's very warm, a little bit too warm, and I know it looks odd, but come on people, it's not finished, so don't judge. Give me another week and I'll have it finished, I promise. I promise. You know, I really want to get it done so that I can cast on for another project, which I'm really excited about. So that's why I'm hoping to finish this as soon as possible, and honestly was a little disappointed that I did not finish it already, but you know, that's knitting. Sometimes a mistake happens, and you know, we just have to deal with it, and that's what I'm doing. I'm dealing. Such fun. Right, I'm going to keep this sleeve and the other one, which I kept downstairs, so that's why I don't have it here. So, but I'm going to keep the sleeves, I don't know what for. A reminder to always check your math when doing sleeves. Although I already have a bunch of sleeves that were too small or too short, or you know, slightly too tight. I don't have a single sleeve that is too big, you see, because I'm a rather tight knitter. So my things, my knit projects don't oftentimes end up too big. If something goes wrong, they would much rather end up too small than too big, which is alright, I suppose. But it's always with sleeves, unless I'm working in top down, or unless it's a raglan construction or a yoke jump or something. That way, sort of, I'm spot on my maths. So yeah. Oh, by the way, do you like this shawl? It's hand woven by my weaver lady, so I'm just wearing it here, sort of like a promotion. Let me bring it closer so that you can see the wonderful laced weaving there. And this is a pearl yarn. It's linen, silk, and cotton. Very nice, very luxurious, and I love it. And it's very warm. So I'll be posting this one on the website soon. This one and a few others that are complete. So I'm really excited to share those with you as well. So if you'd like to check them out, go over to my website at davedekamp.com and go into the weaving section. And there you'll see the shawls and the scarves and everything that we produced. And also keep an eye, because like I said, I have a whole collection that's finished, which I have to do a photo shoot for, and then update the website and put them all for sale. So I hope you all like them. Really hope so. Right, and since we are already in the month of December, we are getting near the end of this year. I decided, I'm going to do sort of with every episode, I'm going to do a little review of the projects that I've done previously, of my designs. And today's spotlight is on my Smurfette scarf, which has to be one of my absolute favorite designs ever. So this is Smurfette. Let me open it up a bit. So this is Smurfette, has these lovely tassels at the bottom there. And I want to tell you the story of this Smurfette scarf. I should have worn this one today. It matches with the teal jumper. Oh look, yes, that matches much better. Look, how nice. So, Smurfette scarf. If you are not already familiar with Irina, Shaar, one of my bestest friends, and also the hostess of Fiberchats channel here on YouTube, and also my co-founder of Knitters Gonna Knit Facebook group. She is a huge lover of all shades blue. And a while ago, I gave her a nickname, started calling her Smurfette, because, she was always, every project she was doing, she was always knitting it in blue. So hence the name. And then I decided, well, I'm going to knit and design a project that I'm going to design in honor of Irina, and I'm going to name it Smurfette. So I went online and I googled pictures of the real Smurfette, and I took those colors. So we have the blonde from her hair, and there's the two shades of blue, and the teal and the turquoise, and of course natural white. So I ended up picking those four colors, and then I wanted to come up with a pattern that was sort of interesting and resembled a hand woven pattern. And this is what I came up with. So this is a slipped stitch pattern, and believe me this is probably the simplest design that I've ever done. It goes so quickly and it's so easy to do. I know it looks a little bit intimidating but it's all because of the color changes. It's not because of the pattern. So I would highly suggest you go over either to my Ravelry store or my website and check out the pattern. Believe me, you're going to love it. And I also have a vest pullover, also named Smurfette, in different colorways, so you can check that one out as well. It's a V-neck pullover. Let me show you the colors. So there's the colors. Actually, I don't think this is the turquoise shade, but we have the yellow, the natural white, the teal, and the turquoise. So these are the Smurfette colors. They're also available on my website if you want to check them out or something. Anyway, so I sort of felt that the edging here was a bit too simple. So I ended up doing these lovely tassels. I mean, look how pretty that is. And I did on each edge there, I put the different colors because we have 4. So I did all 4 different colors there. And I added a little bead there to hold it in place, sort of like that, which I'm very, very happy about. I don't know, there's something about these tassels that, I mean, who can resist a tassel like this, people? Really? You know, pom-poms are great, but tassels are fabulous. Really fabulous. I should knit something else with tassels. I don't know. Anywho. So, that's my project update. Now, for today's topic, before I forget, talking of Irina, I really have to mention, she recently published an interview on her Fiberchats channel with an incredible Dr.Srini, I think it's pronounced. Please forgive me if I've pronounced that wrong. So the topic of that interview is creators' block or burnout, and he goes into detail on how we can manage ourselves in case of feeling discouraged, or in case we are in our creator's block period, or how to simply raise our spirits and how to be successful, but not just in business and knitting, but as a person, because when you are successful as a person with yourself, it will show in your work as well. So I would highly suggest that you go and watch that interview. I'm going to put a link down in the description box so that you can check it out. I've watched it twice already, and I'll watch it again. I'm taking notes and everything. So it's definitely one of the greatest interviews she's ever done. I mean, fabulous, fabulous. I cannot recommend it enough. Please go and watch it. Right. So the topic of today would be knitting styles. And the reason I decided to do this is because I posted a little video on my reels, both in the group and on my Instagram account. So I posted that video, which simply demonstrates 3 knitting styles. So I included English throwing, flicking, and Continental style when it comes to knit stitches. And I have to say, it's done very, very well. I mean, it's one of my best performing videos in a while when it comes to engagements. So there's so many comments. I'm sorry I could not reply to everyone because there were just too many. So it gave me an idea to talk about knitting styles in today's episode. And what's the difference? Because I noticed that a lot of people didn't really know that flicking was called flicking, or that English throwing was called English throwing. So I want to explain a little bit about those knitting styles. And please, this is absolutely important that you do not misunderstand me. These are not the 3 only knitting styles out there. These are just 3 of the more commonly known and used knitting styles. So and they are also not in any way superior to any other knitting style. But I just want to elaborate a little bit about them, so that perhaps you can, if you are trying to go on an endeavor and learn how to switch the knitting styles, you can have sort of like a rough idea of what they are and how they work. So, right. So, like I mentioned, there's the English throwing, there's flicking, and Continental style. But before I get into those 3, I want to say that English throwing is not technically a traditional English style of knitting. And I want to explain that as well, because I'm a textile historian, like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode. and studying history of textiles and their production, especially throughout Victorian era and Regency, there is a style that is actually called traditional English knitting style, but is not referred to as such in today's society. Today we call it parlour knitting, and this is quite fascinating to me. And let me tell you, parlour knitting is called I'm getting tangled here in my words, sorry. Anywho, so I have a little sample here that I want to explain the parlour knitting technique, which is something that I've been practicing this week, and I'm not good at it at all. So please bear with me. Let me finish this row so that I can come back to the right side row and show you. So parlour knitting is actually used for one very simple reason. Well, we can say two. One is definitely aesthetic, because it does make one look rather elegant in their knitting, and it gives you good posture, and there's absolutely no way that you can have your back arched, or that you are in an odd position to knit parlour knitting style. So there's definitely the aesthetics to it, and if any of you are familiar with anything historical, especially with period dress and stuff, they were definitely very big on aesthetic. Today's society thinks, oh, we are all about aesthetics and such. No, because those people back in those days, they were obsessed with that, with aesthetics, and I mean really obsessed. And we can recognize that from their artworks, architecture, and textiles especially. So parlour knitting is worked by holding your right needle like a pencil, like that. And I know that there's a lot of people out there who still knit this way. While I was in China, I actually learned that a lot of my Chinese knitting friends knit using this style, which is quite interesting. But then again, they are quite obsessed with good posture and elegance of movement, so it makes sense. But parlour knitting, like I said, is worked sort of, you're holding it like you're holding a pencil. So you have your thumb, your index finger, and your middle finger there, and you hold the yarn as if you were to do a flicking method, and then you never let go of the needle like you were to do English throwing and wrap around. I mean, you could, but they would mostly just move the finger sort of like for flicking, all whilst holding the needle like a pencil. And the way this works sort of rests on your arm there. And why? Because it keeps your knitting away from your lap. And that's quite important, because back in those days they only had wool to work with. And as you know, if you ever knitted with wool, you know that you get a lot of those the fuzz and the hairs falling all over you, and oftentimes there's a little bit of dirt in it. So by knitting this way, it would keep the knitting away from their laps, away from their skirts and aprons. And this is quite important, because they took so much time and effort to make those skirts and aprons and underskirts and or whatever else was there, that they did not want to dirty it in any way. So this would keep it away from the skirts. So I'm not sure how it would work with a large project, but I suppose that they would sort of put it like this under their arm and then hold it and knit using this way, like that. And I've practiced, like I said, this week, but I'm in no way good at it. Please don't judge me. I just wanted to give it a try because I found it very interesting. As if you can see, you can't really go into awkward positions, to knit this way, because the needle will just go in the way. So you are naturally forced to sit in a very elegant position with good posture, with your back nice and straight, and it will go something like that. Quite interesting, don't you think? So if you are one of those parlour knitters, and if you knit this way, please let me know down in the comments. I would absolutely love to hear, who taught you how to knit this way, and if you find it comfortable, and if you ever think about switching to another technique, perhaps. Right. So on this note, I would like to now send you off to a little clip that I filmed, because the one I filmed and posted on social media is rather short and there's no talking. So I didn't really explain anything. I just demonstrated the movement of each of the 3 techniques. So I'm going to send you off to a little tutorial that I've made that sort of explains how to do a knit stitch in the Continental, English and flicking style. So I hope you enjoyed that, and if you are trying to switch from one style to another, I hope that it helps you, and I hope you enjoy. So I'm going to send you off now, and I'll see you in just a moment. Hello. So I'm going to demonstrate a little bit on how to knit a stocking stitch or knit stitch in using the English throwing method. So the way I do it, so you insert your right needle into the stitch, you let go of the needle, you wrap the yarn around the needle, you hold on to that right needle, and you pull the stitch through there. So into the stitch, let go, wrap it around, and pull it through. Into the stitch, wrap it around, and pull it through. So if you were to compare English throwing stocking stitch fabric to the, let's say, Continental stocking stitch fabric, you will find that the stocking stitch is much looser. Well, depends on your tightness, but it is going to be looser when knitted Continental style compared to the English style. So English style gives a medium density gauge, and this is why I changed from Continental to the English style, because I have a bit of a tighter fabric, which I prefer. As you can see, it slides nicely. It's not too tight, but it's not too loose either. So once again, you insert the needle, let go of the stitch, wrap it around, and you pull it through. And that is how you do an English throwing style. I'll continue now by doing what's called as flicking style, which I'm personally not very good at, but I'll try for the sake of this demonstration here. So the way I would do it, so I would wrap that yarn around my little finger there so that I have the tension correct. If I don't do that, I can't have the tension in my right hand, so it ends up a bit wonky. So the way you do it, so you insert the needle into the stitch. Let me just get that focus correct there. You insert that into the stitch. You never let go of the needle, so you just flick your finger round and you pull it through. Into the stitch, flick the finger and pull the stitch through. Now the thing about this is that sort of when you go and you flick your finger, your needle sort of dances and it moves around. So sort of like that, as you can see. So you flick, but you never let go of that needle and you pull off the stitch. Now, let me try and do it without wrapping the yarn. So you're just holding it there with your fingers, like so. So you see, I lose the tension, so I can't do that very well. Pull it through, like so, and then you flick. And you can see that I get a bit of a wonky stitch there. So let me do a few more this way. So that I can show you the density. Now this is the densest. It gives the tightest gauge. Ones we did in English throwing, the stitches on this side of the needle, and these are the ones we did in flicking method. As you can see, they don't move as easily as these do. So it's definitely the tightest gauge there. Now let me show you how to do Continental style. So like somebody mentioned, flicking is like right-handed Continental knitting, which is a good point. So to do the Continental style, the way I do it is I wrap the yarn a few times around my index finger, and this is only because I was a crocheter first, and this is how I hold my yarn to crochet. Now you don't have to do that. You can just hold the yarn like that when knitting. Although I prefer, once again, to wrap it around because it gives me good tension. And the way I knit my stitch is you insert the needle and you wrap the needle with your index finger and you pull that stitch through. So this is how I knit my stitch, like so. In, wrap, and pull. Now I'm going to try and show you from this angle. So what that does, so it goes into the needle, and all it does, it just brings that yarn through that stitch there, and it takes it off, like so. So there's definitely minimal movement in this type of knitting. So you can see it goes into that needle, it grabs the yarn, and just pulls it to the front and takes it off. So I'm going to finish to the rest of this row so that we can compare all three. Right, so like we said, so this is the English throwing, which is medium. Then we have the flicking in the middle there. As you can see, it's quite tight. And then the Continental, which is by far the loosest. Let me try and focus that so that we can look at the stitches themselves. So you can see that these stitches are much larger than these. As you can see, there's a bigger gap in between stitches in the Continental style, and there's a much lesser gap here in the flicking method. And then for the English throwing, it's sort of a very nice uniform gap between stitches. So in between these two, and you can see these are quite loose there. So that's from me for the knit stitches. Now, if you'd like for me to demonstrate how to do purl stitches as well, please do let me know, and I'll make sure to film that video as well. Well, I hope you found that a little bit helpful, hopefully. Right, so like I said, I'm no expert in knitting, especially flicking style, because that's not the way I've knitted ever. I just had to learn how to do it just so that if needed I could do it. Right, but it's not my preferred method. I shall continue to stick to my English throwing style, and right, unless I'm doing some color work. In that case, I will be doing a combination knitting, meaning I'll hold my the yarn in my left hand, I'll do Continental, and the yarn in my right hand, I'm going to do English throwing. So right. But like I mentioned previously, there's not really a superior style. Whatever works for you, whatever you find comfortable, is the style that you should stick to. Seriously, this one fly just keeps coming into my house, and every time I try to murder them, they disappear. And then whenever I put my cameras up and my lights, they just show up out of nowhere. Please ignore. Anyway, so I wanted to ask you, since I'm knitting this, how do you feel about magic loop? Now, I would usually either do this on long double pointer needles, which I do not have, or 16-inch circular needles, which are currently preoccupied on another project, so I couldn't use them. And I'm really not a fan of magic loop. I don't find it magic at all. It's too fiddly, because I sort of feel like, you know, shifting the cord, you know, moving every time you finish the half of the stitches, and you have to readjust. It takes away so much time. You know, I could probably knit half the row by the time, you know, I've adjusted the needles. So I don't find it magic at all. But I know people like it, and I know it's quite handy when knitting small circumferences, you know, like for a cuff or something. But I still prefer my double pointed needles. I don't know. It's a bit fiddly, isn't it? If you feel that way, do let me know in the comments, or if you have any tips on how to speed up the transition. Let me get to the end of the row and I'll show you what I mean. Right, so once you've reached to that point, I have to turn this over and then push that cord back in there, and then sort of set out my yarn on that side and then pull the needle. I mean, it takes forever to do, doesn't it? I don't know really, but I'm hoping to finish this as soon as possible, because I cannot endure this torture any longer. Right. Anyway, so I want to let you know what's happening in for the next week. So on Monday, I will be going to the capital of Serbia, Belgrade, and I'll be going to the Canadian ambassador's residence, because I received an invitation from His Excellency the Ambassador and his lovely wife, who is a good friend of mine, to attend the miniature exhibit that they are hosting in their home. And the exhibit is pretty much, it's for the sake of women empowerment, in conjunction with an organization called NALED, and also an organization which is called Ethno Network. And these organizations focus on empowering women from rural areas, women who practice different types of fiber crafts, so knitting, embroidery, crochet and weaving and all other fiber arts that you can imagine. So every year, this is an annual event, a bunch of people submit their miniature work, and the rules are, it has to be of 10 by 10 centimeters, that would be 4 by 4 inches, the size of the miniature. So any work that fits that criteria can be submitted to the organization, and then they will go through a judging process, and then at the exhibit they will announce the winners of the miniatures. And it's called 100 Women, 100 Miniatures. Now, of course, it's not exclusive to women only. Men can also submit their work for this competition. So I'm really looking forward to going to the... Anyway, I'm really looking forward to going to the residence and seeing all of the miniature. And I hadn't planned to perhaps film the exhibit, and then in the next episode I can share the footage from the exhibit, and there's going to be a lot of people, so I hope that I can pull off a video. Usually there's a lot of dignitaries and, you know, people from the state, and also influencers from different fields here in the country. So yeah, but it's always such fun, and I get to meet up with all of my friends and women who belong to different women's associations for felting or crochet or weaving. So it's always so much fun, and also seeing the hosts at the residence, who are very, very nice people and lovely friends. So yeah, I'm so looking forward to going there. And also because I live in a very rural place, in the ye old mountains. So the capital is rather far away from here. It takes about 4 something hours by bus to get to the capital. So I was thinking, I need a project to bring with me on the bus, so that I don't waste 4 hours of my time. And I'm one of those people that suffer from terrible motion sickness. Fortunately, I've discovered these wonderful pills that I take for motion sickness, so it makes the trip much more bearable. And I think that with the pills I can perhaps do some knitting on the bus. So I was thinking, what do I do? I can't bring the cardigan with me, but I was thinking perhaps I could knit some socks or something, if I can come up with the pattern in such a short time. I was thinking to do like a pair of chunky socks with DK weight on thick needles, something simplish, let's say, with perhaps a little cable along the center of the yes, let's do that. Let's do a cable along the sock up to the ribbing, and I'll do them slightly longer socks. They won't be those ankle socks. And it's getting rather cold here, especially starting tomorrow. So the forecast says that there shall be snow, and when I'm in the house I usually wear shoes or slippers, something, so I could really use a pair of nice thick woolen socks, and I can write the pattern for that, for the socks, and perhaps you can knit them, or perhaps I could do sort of like a tutorial, or follow and knit along with me or something. So I don't know, are you a sock knitter? Do you like knitting socks? I'm not a big fan. I've knitted a bunch of socks when I was younger, especially when I was in middle school. So I was only knitting hats and socks most of the time, for gifts and for family members and myself and all that. So ever since I've not knitted a single pair. I just don't find it quite a pleasurable project to knit on. But I think it's time. I know people like them, and perhaps we can all use a chunky sock pattern. So yeah, I think I'm going to do that. Let me know what you think. Right, and I think I'm going to summon up this episode. Once again, I'm sorry I did not finish this. It will be done by the next episode, I promise that. And I'm really looking forward to blocking the whole thing and putting it on and wearing it, and then I have to write the pattern. And like I mentioned in the previous episode, if you by any chance would like to do a test knit for this cardigan / coat, do let me know, either by via email, which I'll put right here. So it's at davedekamp gmail.com. So yeah, send me an email, or even write down in the comment section, and we can discuss details of this test knit, because I need to assemble a new test knitter group. So there's still spots left. So please do let me know if you would like to test knit this for me. It's a little bit of knitting, but it's very simple, so it is beginner friendly, and it's worked on 4mm, which is US 6 size needles, in DK weight 2-ply, which is approximately 260 yards per 100 grams. And I mean, you can really use whatever yarn you have depending on your gauge. So it's not a complicated project, it's very simple. And I will be generous with the amount of time I give you to complete the test knitting for me. So yeah, let me know. Also, if you have enjoyed this episode and previous episodes, please consider subscribing and liking this video, and also make sure to leave a comment and let me know if there's anything that you feel that I should change. And also please do let me know if you have any ideas on the topics that I should discuss here during my episodes. I always try and make a little plan of what I'm going to talk about and make a nice schedule so that this program is enjoyable to listen to, but also at the end of the day I would like for all of you to have something to take away from listening to me, whether it be a technique or a historical detail, something that you have not known before. So I'm trying to make sure and improve as best as I can and provide you all with good quality content. So please let me know in the comments any ideas you have about topics, what I should cover, what I should focus on, and all of your suggestions would be most appreciated. Right, so like I said, please subscribe, and until next time I shall say ta-ta.